Yeah, our microphone is to the back of the room. Mr. Edney, welcome to the committee, and you have the floor.
within counties that I need to deal with.
All right.
But I will be available whenever you need me.
All right. Very nice. Thank you very much. Safe travels. Next, we have Barbara Bolt. She's the mayor of the city of Hendersonville. Ms. Bolt, welcome to the committee. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I am Barbara Bolt, mayor of the city of Hendersonville. With me is council member Ron Stevens. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you on behalf of the city of Hendersonville and our water and sewer utilities. For those of you not familiar with our system, I would like to describe it to you. Hendersonville has been providing water service since at least the 1920s. Our current water treatment plant was built in 1963 and has been upgraded several times. The most recent renovation was completed in spring of 2010. We use conventional mechanical and chemical treatment processes for the water we draw from 2 intakes in the Pisgah National Forest and the Mills River. The plant is rated for 12 million gallons per day, MGD, and expanded to 18. The average daily production in 2011 was 6.76 MGD. We have an active conservation program in place for our 28,000 customers. Our current wastewater treatment plant was put into service in 2002. It has a capacity of 4.8 MGD and can be expanded to 12 MGD. The average daily flow is less than 3 MGD. We serve approximately 19,000 residents with 8,500 connections. Neither of our plants has ever had a violation reportable to the state. We pride ourselves on the quality of our product, the service we provide, and the cost to our residents. Our rates are the 6th lowest of over 500 systems in North Carolina. We're continuing to make improvements to our system. This past Monday, the City Council approved a contract for an upgrade to an automated meter reading AMR system. All 28,000 meters will be replaced with meters that will be read automatically. Each meter will send signals to receiving towers several times a day, with the tower sending the information on to the water treatment plant. The AMR system will allow for continual monitoring to track usage, generate bills, and detect leaks. Customers who wish to will be able to track their water usage online. The new system, which will be completed by summer of 2013, will replace 4 meter readers and the associated expenses of 4 vehicles. These savings, along with other efficiencies in the system, will save our customers $1.2 million over 15 years. The initial cost is high, over $11.5 million, but the improved service and the cost savings will be worth it. Although I have been mayor for only 2 years, I was a member of Hendersonville City Council for 20 years before that. I was a member of the council when the Ashland-Henderson Regional Water Authority was established. Hendersonville was approached about being part of that authority. We thought seriously about it, but in the end chose to focus on our own system, providing the best service we could within our capacities. The current council has the same opinion. We believe that we are providing the service that our current and future customers need and want. Our rates are low and our quality is high. We see participation in the regional authority as unnecessarily complicated for our customers. Our sewer system is located so as to serve central Henderson County. It would be an expensive proposition to try to connect to a regional plant further north when our current plant is operating efficiently and is expandable for all foreseeable needs. Because our sewer charges are based on water usage, separating the sewer system from the water system financially would be difficult. Our water plant can also be expanded if growth dictates. We extend lines based on customer demand. When a developer requests a connection, that developer pays for new lines. But we only approve the extension if the local jurisdiction approves it. That is, if the new development is located in an unincorporated area of Henderson County. The Henderson County Board of Commissioners must approve the extension. We also cooperate with other entities as well. We provide water and or sewer service to the towns of Laurel Park, Flat Rock, and Saluda, as well as much of Henderson County. We have a connection with the Ashland water system such that we can draw water from their system if necessary, or they can utilize our water if needed, and we have an agreement in place to do so. To conclude, I am requesting that on behalf of the Hendersonville City Council, that we not be considered in any plans for a regional water sewer authority. If a regional water sewer authority is should at some point be feasible for the Hendersonville Water and Sewer System to join. But at this time, we want to continue to focus on our system as it is and to continue providing a quality product and services at a reasonable cost to our customers. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Mayor. The chair would request that if you do have prepared comments, we would like to get a copy of those for our permanent record. Next up, we have fellow Representative Patsy Beaver. Patsy? As most of you know, Patsy is a representative for District 115 and also a candidate for Congress. Welcome to the committee.
Thank you. Thank you, Representative Moffitt, and it is a pleasure to be here in front of my colleagues, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today, to represent my constituents in the 115. I have 5 quick points that I would like to make, and the first is that under no circumstances should we ever privatize our water system. We all know it's a vital resource that must be accessible and affordable to our citizens at all times. Number 2, I believe this is an unnecessary study. It was unasked for. It is expensive. I understand that we have about 71 of these types of studies going on at the legislative level. And I would point out that neither Susan Fisher nor I are on any of these 71 committees. Number 3, I think this further erodes the trust that we have in our state government, particularly in Buncombe County, where our previous system of electing our county commissioners has already been dismantled by the state legislature, unasked for and unwanted. Number 4, whatever issues anyone may perceive, these issues should be handled at the local level and not at the state level. Number 5, I would ask that, I know that this study has evolved into just looking at this local issue. It started out as something else, but now that it is about our actual Buncombe system, Henderson County, I would ask that at least 2 of the current members of this board, of this committee, be replaced with Susan Fisher and me. Thank you.
Or perhaps that means I can speak twice. First of all, I'd like to thank the committee for coming out and being with us here in Buncombe County. I think it's very important because I think you'll have a better sense of what our citizens think and feel. And I wanted to wrap up some remarks that we started in Raleigh, and I failed to get out time enough to do that. But I think that at the initial committee meeting, and I appreciate the opportunity of having been there, and was quite taken with the way that the committee was managed, and appreciated the efficiency of it. I would like to add that it's a little bit intimidating if you're sitting there in the audience, and I was gathering thoughts, and it ended quicker than I would like, but I wanted to actually speak to the comments that my good friend, in fact, a very good friend, Bob Long, made about the actual ownership of the water system. And I think that, I don't want to dwell too much on that, but I felt like that particular committee meeting became more of a matter of looking at the history and who owned the system and the dissolution of the agreement than it did about fact-finding of where we were now. I really wanted to speak to that issue, and I think that Bob showed very detailed documents of case law where that supported the fact that it had been paid for by the ratepayers. But quite frankly, that's the way most municipal systems are paid for. I think that would be the expectation of this committee, that you would see a water system owned by the municipality that runs it, administrates it, consider that option, I think Gary would point out very quickly that that's really, both systems are being run efficiently and well right now, and that's not where we're really need to be going with it. I think that we deliver water at a very good cost considering the terrain and where we are and the vastness of this system. I think that it's important to note that we get along very well with our neighbors, the county commissioners and the council are probably a better agreement than we have been in years. And frankly, we're completing an $8 million, better part of $8 million renovation of the Civic Center as a partnership. As we speak, that will be open later in the week. And we have a lot of good things going together. We're working right now on affordable housing, got a housing project getting ready to go in on, or a housing, a mixed income housing development in the mid part of town. The counties at the table with that, we're together there helping do those things. We're doing a lot of things for the good of this community. The Riverfront redevelopment, we're working on forming a commission, a joint commission, working in that direction. We're doing a lot of good things for this community. To be distracted by this kind of unnecessary meeting is not a good thing. And it does not speak to the efficiency of a better run system. It's a political issue. It's not a management issue. We are doing a good job. I would like to speak to Mr. Eddie's comments because we worked and met very hard under the mayor's leadership with and Chuck Brady's leadership from Henderson County, and as he was commissioner, I think we met on 3 or 4 public meetings and then individual quite a bit, talking about that water agreement. And I think at the end of the day, we went through and lined out every area of disagreement. We came up with the agreement with the exception of having the authority in place and without the Big Creek property being completely settled in anybody's mind. That we have delivered on what we said we would deliver for Henderson County. And we continue to be great partners with Hendersonville on their water system, and we have offered them water at times, and they were a great customer when they needed water. And we have an ongoing memorandum of understanding to provide that water in the future. So we're already working on a regional basis, and I think we're going to be talking about regional systems. We need to be including Weaverville, Hendersonville, Black Mountain, and Woodfin in this same conversation, because it seems like that we're being picked on in that manner. The other part is I know that part of the study has come up because we've talked about going from our rolling block rates, which rewards the big users and help industry, and we really put in place to do that, but we lost those big water customers at this point. A lot of them, not due to water, we lost them because of textile failure. And our big users right now, if you look down that list, are like the hospital, university, Tech, the city, the county. Those are the big users. To get that to a level that the residents are not subsidizing, but actually emulate the model that the MSD currently uses. Now, we are, as a council, we have no interest in differential rates. We recognize that that has been put in place, and I don't feel that that's on the table anymore. I think we want to administer a system. We are thankful for our legislators that allow us to use 5% of that revenue stream for infrastructure repair having to do with water. That's very helpful to the life of the city, which is pretty uniquely treated. I can go on and on. I don't want to take any more time, but I think that I can make a good case that the system works well, should not be tampered with at this time. Thank you.
If you'd like to speak at the end, the chair will certainly make that available to you. Next up, we have a member of City Council, Chris Bell. Chris, welcome to the meeting.
Good morning, thank you. My name is Chris Kelly. I am a member of Asheville City Council. We're told privatization is not in the end game, and that we've been told the other night of the 2 hearings in Asheville that you can guarantee that will not happen. But given Representative Moffitt's participation in the American Legislative Exchange Council, as well as participation in the Legislative Select Committee on Public-Private Partnership, I cannot, in good conscience, assure Asheville Bunk and Water customers privatization will not happen. There are forces at work in the legislature that seek to unleash the genie of privatization, and once that genie is out and the water system lost to local accountable control, there is no going back. The only sure way to guarantee against privatization of the system is to have the system stay as with the city of Asheville, because Asheville City Council, because we know the Asheville customers, how they feel about the system here and the desire to keep local control. If we mess it up, we're going to get voted out of office. If we switch to a private system or a system that's unaccountable, then the local accountability is lost. At two public hearings, two public forums in the last week, literally hundreds of residents expressed overwhelming support for the current management system. And since you, according to the newspaper, have ruled out a public referendum, despite two ballot opportunities this year in May and November, giving voters the choice, and since you told us at Monday's hearing that Buncombe residents and Henderson County residents are aggrieved with Asheville and support this action being considered, I expect to see later today hundreds of residents clamoring to go forward with what you're proposing. If that doesn't happen today, if we don't get that big turnout like we saw the other night in Asheville, I think that's the message that needs to be taken away, that this is an action just being considered by a few people, not to the benefit of the public. Thank you.
Charlie Messer, Henderson County Commissioner. Messer, you're recognized. Welcome to our committee.
Thank you. I too would like to say that thanks for having this meeting. I've been on the board for in my 12th year. Time flies when you're having fun. And I came here not to speak, but to listen to the people. I represent District 2 here in Henderson County, which is basically my district. I too agree with Mr. Eddy that we definitely need to keep the water and the sewer separate, because we are in the process of having Davidson Board from Greenwood do a sewer study. I also chair the Canterbury Water and Sewer Advisory Board, which we lead here in Fletcher. And we've got a lot of questions about sewer now, as the residents in Henderson County in the past have had about water. I'm just going to say a brief things that I remember, and like I said, I didn't really prepare myself to speak, other than the fact that this goes back probably 10 or 11 years ago, even before Mr. McGrady went on the board. Our then chairman and county commissioners thought we had an agreement. The plan had been built, and we were working through all the legal process, working with the General Assembly, the courts, and everything else. But in saying all that, we went to a commission meeting one afternoon, thought we had all of our I's dotted and T's crossed. For some odd reason, we didn't vote on that issue. Our past chairman and all the Henderson County commissioners had worked with Buncombe County, Asheville City, then Ms. Corley, met with him numerous times right here at JNS cafeteria. But saying all that, we thought we had a contract of the agreement that had been followed by Asheville City and then Henderson County Commission. That didn't take place. Then it was, I guess, election time. It was a lame up session. So basically an agreement has never been really met. And then there's the sewer issue that has I know there's a lot of angry customers and people in Henderson County, especially on the Mill River side. And I see Mr. Snyder here, that, Henderson County's changed a lot. The last, I'd say 12 to 15 years of growth we've had. We've had one developer come into the northern part of the county, Windsor Autry. He's probably put in about 3,000 or 4,000 homes. Well, he runs these lines. He runs these sewer lines. And of course there was a need. We had a lot of people that wanted to move to the North Henderson County. So that pretty well changed. That pretty well changed the process overnight, because he was building these homes and selling them, and they had water and sewer, they had natural gas, they had things that the people, just everyday things that people needed. But as far as continuing agreements with the authority or permanent authority or whatever, I think there's some bad blood between Asheville City and Henderson County. Of course, we're not in the water business, per se, we in Henderson County, the people that I represent, because we do have an agreement with Henderson City, as the Mrs. Vogel spoke. But in saying all that, I think we need to continue having these meetings, these forums with the representatives from Raleigh, and we need to get the people on board, because I also serve on the County Commissioners Association, and everything's going to come regional. It's been said until the last 10 years that our growth in Western North Carolina has really exploded in certain areas. I think it's about 249,000, 250,000 people in Buckingham, 105,000 in Henderson, 60 or 70 in Transylvania. You can just go on and on. And I remember, I was born and raised right here in Mills River. And like I said, we need to get everybody on the same page. Do what's right for the people. And, I don't think water should be sold for a profit, for an extended profit. I know for a fact it costs a lot of money to run water and sewer lines, and we've got to work together. And the only way we can work together if a agreement is signed, then both parties on that agreement need to make sure that happens. And that's what's not happened in the past. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Chair of Buckingham County Commissioners, Mr. David Gann. Mr. Chair, you recognize the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chairman Moffitt, and thank you, representatives. You're taking time away from your family and things, your business, what you want to do, your personal time. And we appreciate you taking an interest in us here. These folks sacrifice a lot by going to Raleigh, a lot, going to committee meetings a lot, and we thank you. This is a sacrifice for you, all of you. We appreciate that. We appreciate the staff being here. I'm not going to get up here and talk to you about what the power of the General Assembly is, because I think Jerry Cohen has literally and figuratively written a book about that. And you have the power to do what you want to here. I'm not going to dispute that. But I want to talk to you about what's fair and what would work best for our community, just like what would work best for your community back home. I want to thank Chairman Moffitt for the time slots. I think this is the first time I've been to a public hearing where there's been some consideration given to people that have different views and different positions. And I thank you for that, because I think that shows a lot of respect for everybody's time. I think the best public policies that are ever made, whether it's in Matthews, whether it's in Hendersonville, whether it's in Asheville, come from the local people, from local issues. Anytime you have Raleigh or Washington come down and say, we know better what you need for your local community, it usually policy. There's no government unit locally here that asks for this. There's no business group that asks for this. So you're kind of coming in, and we appreciate you coming here, but it's a situation where the policy didn't start with the local people that are running this operation. Now, 5 years ago, I was totally in favor of independent authority. I was very public about it. As a commissioner, I thought we needed that. But here's why I felt that back then, and here's what's different today. I didn't think the people that were running the water authority were putting money back in to fix an antiquated and disrepair system that needed a lot of work. Since the city has taken this over, like we've heard from Councilman Davis and the others, they put $40 million right off the bat. The city of Asheville took out a $40 million bond to start fixing up the mess they had to deal with. Now, we didn't dwell on why I got there. It's a fair question, but I'm looking at what happened since then. Because at the end of the day, the paying customers want a system that works. They want local people that they can say, I don't agree with your rates. I don't agree. And that's why you can never consider private. Because you lose that right to say, this basic necessity of life costs you much, and I don't like it. Because then it's based on profit. So, you and I may differ, Representative John may differ about what's best for this water system. And that's fine. Reasonable minds can differ about how much money is being put into it. But the best folks to decide are local people. And we respect your wisdom, we respect your vision for the state, but it's a local decision at the end of the day. And it should be, because we know best what works here. So I would ask you to keep this a local decision. If you have to take action, set up a study commission and get everybody at the table. You've already heard from Hendersonville, they don't want to be part of it. So you're going to get mixed signals, and that's all the more reason to let a local issue stay local. I appreciate you taking time. I do really, from the bottom of my heart, I have a little bit of an understanding of the time and energy commitment you give people in North Carolina, and we appreciate that. You're a long ways from home, and I hope you have a good stay here, and I hope that what we say today helps you make the right decision, which is just leave it alone, or if you have to do something, set up a study so that we have everybody's at the table on it. Thank you.
Next up, fellow Representative Susan Fisher, District 114. Representative Fisher, you're recognized. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, staff. It's nice to see you here in Asheville. We always appreciate here in the hinterland seeing the folks from Raleigh come this way. Because often I hear from constituents saying that we are sort of left out of the process often when it comes to actually being face-to-face with legislators and staff. So thank you for making that effort. I want to say a little bit about procedure. I know that we are addressing the committee today, and I appreciate that, but it's uncomfortable, I know, for people to kind of turn around and have their backs to us and have to strain and turn. I know I'm having a shoulder neck problem right now, so it's difficult, and I apologize for that as a legislator. But just so that you know about the procedure, we are here to address the committee. And so, thank you for that little bit of discomfort. Another thing about procedure. This is something that's sort of been swirling around, I think, in the community. I keep hearing about it a little bit here and there. And I want to give you a little bit about the history of when I was appointed to the General Assembly. Many of you in here will know about this. I was appointed to take Senator Martin Nesbitt, now Senator Martin Nesbitt's place, in January before the short session started in May. continue being a community, continue coming together, stay united, and vote. You won't be afforded an opportunity to vote on this issue, unfortunately, but you will be afforded an opportunity to vote for the people who brought this issue or to not vote for the people who brought this issue. As Representative Keeper said, the day after the committees were formed for the interim, she and I both applied to be on one of many, many study commissions and committees that are being held during the interim. I think 71 or so, I think is what Representative Keeper quoted. We were not appointed to a single study commission or interim study committee. They didn't want to hear from us, obviously, on those committees. And so you need to keep in mind that the balance of opinion coming into these proceedings is pretty tilted in one direction. So again, I would say, stay united, keep building the community that I am so proud to see happening right now. City and county are getting along. They are working together for the good of the whole community. And vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Bishop. Next up is member of Buncombe County Commission, Ms. Holly Jones. Mr. Jones, you're recognized to come forward.
Thank you, Representative Moffitt. And I will echo Chairman Gant's gratitude for you all being here today. And it is a sacrifice, and it is public service you're out, so thank you for that. I've got my comments prepared, and in the interest of time, I will be following those prepared remarks. So, my name is Holly Jones, and I was elected by the entire county of Buncombe to the Buncombe County Commissioners in 2008. I'm in a unique position because I represent all of the citizens of Buncombe County, and I served on Buncombe County Board of Commission and the City Council of Asheville. First, I want to clearly state that I fully support the City of Asheville maintaining control of its water system for many reasons that have already been articulated and that will be articulated throughout the day by my constituents. But today, I would like to highlight some of the very real and immediate economic consequences regarding the alternatives that you're considering. I want to talk jobs, I want to talk taxes, I want to talk water bills. First, jobs. Representative Brawley and Representative Bryson, you may not know, but currently our community is courting a major economic development prospect who has been attracted by the quality of water and the current water operations. And each of you know that the uncertainty for business recruitment and retention is bad. It's very bad. Businesses want to know the rules of the road and plan accordingly. If you are going to locate your multi-million-dollar business and the production and distribution of your raw material was being put under a cloud of uncertainty, would you choose that location over one which does not have the question mark? Changing ownership of the water management would cast a big, big question mark. And these times are serious economic times we're in, and we need to be at the top of our game economically. This business prospect has a positive determination about the quality of water and the current delivery system. Why would we jeopardize this courtship by throwing the unknown into the equation? Local officials and staff have worked hard to be on the same page for issues that matter to our community, like jobs. And Representative Moffitt and Representative McGrady, please do not undermine our efforts to create hundreds of jobs and give your constituents a chance for a better economic future. My second point is the impending financial impact to 56,000 water customers if the Asheville water system is seized and given to another entity. How much is this experiment going to cost? And I'm talking cost over and above the delivery of water and the maintenance of lines. Costs such as compensation to Asheville, legal costs, the cost of startup operation. Compensation. The prospect of the General Assembly seizing assets legally owned by Asheville without compensation is wrong. You know it's wrong. Every municipal utility in North Carolina should quake in their boots about this seizure being justified by the fact that the lines were paid for by ratepayers. And I'm happy to submit to the record some research about the deeds that are legally owned by the city of Asheville that were purchased before 1920s. Those deeds to the reservoirs that started back in 1903 will total about $712 million. That's what's legally on the books. And that happened before any of this other Sullivan stuff you're talking about. So I'd like to submit that for the record at some point. So there's that cost. There's that real cost. The other cost is setting aside the compensation issue. There's the mere cost of the creation of a regional entity, or even the transfer to MSD. It would be costly. We're talking an expensive, capital-intensive operation with an annual budget of $33 million, and one that is currently operated with excellence. Expensive, and you all know that. Furthermore, there's the unnecessary but inevitable legal cost if the water system is seized. And I would just ask you, are you willing to use North Carolina taxpayer money for such a fight and push our local taxpayers to fund such a fight? And all while scaring off job creators. The alternatives which take the system away from Asheville are costly. If this committee is intent on carrying forward this matter, it is imperative that a financial analysis is done and made public. The analysis should include how much will this cost and who will ultimately pay the bill. The citizens of North Carolina, the ratepayers, both, whichever one it is. We cannot afford this unnecessary expense at this time. And there is no realistic scenario where cost of this transfer does not impact our water bills. And I realize that most of you would not be impacted by such an increase, but there are 56,000 hard-working citizens here that would be. In a time of limited financial resources, the prospect of uprooting the operations of the water utility that by all objective standards is currently being well managed and being invested in mindedly is a financial hardship that the hardworking citizens of Buncombe County and Henderson can ill afford. And finally, I want to speak for the 146 employees of the water department who work very hard and under difficult circumstances. And I wager that none of us have had to dig up water lines in the cold lately. These employees are happy with their employment, and frankly, it is insensitive to cast doubt on these people's future job prospects because political points are being made with a slice of constituents and partisan allegiances. In conclusion, being an elected official brings with it power, and more importantly, a responsibility to use your power appropriately. The power given to us all is a sacred trust of the people. And I would hope not to be used to settle all scores and to address bad blood. The city and the county have put their issues behind us, and we've been working painstakingly to come together for the betterment of our community. And this conversation has exploited old wounds and cause deep community distress. I implore you to disengage your anger from past deeds and do not punish our community and cripple our future by imposing additional costs. We need to look forwards, not backwards. The future is ahead. It's 2012. The dispute is over. Our community wants to move forward. It appears to some of us, that folks in Raleigh are wanting us to move backwards. Please let our community move forward. Let us control our own law. Thank you.
Next up, member of City Council, Mr. Mark Hunt. Mark. You're recognized, you have the floor.
Representative Moffitt, members of the committee and staff, thank you for coming here and taking a full day to listen to input from elected officials and citizens. Many of my thoughts have been covered, will be covered later today, but I'd like to highlight 3 areas that I view as important, but perhaps less often addressed. And the first is the status of protection of the watershed above the North Fork and Deep Tree reservoirs. The citizens of Asheville, the taxpayers of Asheville actually, purchased that land and the sites of those reservoirs starting in the late 1800s into the 1920s, before the dams were built, and so on. And so those are there because of the leadership and the investment by the citizens of Asheville. Over the years, logging and other activities were allowed on those watersheds, and at times the quality of the water flowing into the system was compromised. In 1995, the city of Asheville engaged with the Conservation Trust of North Carolina, and a conservation easement to protect those watersheds was instituted. And that was early in the days of land protection, and it turns out that the form of that easement is actually weaker than other municipal watershed easements that have been developed since then. The legal science, if you will, of land protection and easement writing has improved greatly since then. It's been through the stewardship of Asheville City Council that the land in those watersheds was protected at a much greater level than the easements would allow. The concern going forward is that if a different authority were to exercise control over the watersheds, logging, recreation development, other uses that would negatively impact the views from the Blue Ridge Parkway, our water quality, the connectivity of our wildlife habitat, the health of our forests could be compromised. The city of Asheville is doing a great job stewarding. And I would just like to highlight that protecting our land and our landscape and our viewsheds is a principle that is shared on both sides of the aisle. One of the greatest heroes on this front we have locally is Nathan Ramsey, who was the Republican chair of the county commission in past times. Another point is the correlation of water infrastructure extension into rural areas in land use planning. Henderson County and the city of Hendersonville, I think, have a great arrangement. City of Hendersonville, of course, owns the water system there, just as Asheville does here. Supplies water out to rural parts of Henderson County. And the arrangement is that if there's a request by a developer to extend water out to a new development, the county planning board must assure the city of Hendersonville water system that the extension of those lines is consistent with the land use plan and consistent with land use principles that the people of Henderson County have decided. Sullivan Act 3 precludes that for Buncombe County. The situation here now is that the developer asks for water, the city of Asheville must deliver it under Sullivan Act 3. I think we need to change that going forward in principle. And finally, I would like to highlight that Asheville, more than any city in North Carolina, has the greatest burden. The taxpayers, the property taxpayers in the city of Asheville have a greater cost burden to provide services and infrastructure for visitors that come in by day and from great distances as well, but mostly for people that live just outside our borders that come in to work each day and to shop and to use services. Asheville taxpayers fund service and infrastructure for those folks to a much greater extent than any city in the state. The reason for that is that over the years, we have been unable to incentivize voluntary, and emphasize voluntary, annexation to the city. Had that occurred over the decades, we would be much healthier fiscally. Now, Asheville is very well run. We are very efficient, and I think we provide a great quality and level of service given our fiscal constraints revenue-wise. But it's been the combination of inability to grow and the history of conflict over water that has made it so that Asheville has had a difficult time improving its own fiscal life. And while this is not directly related to the work of the committee, I would just like to highlight something that Commissioner Jones said. The county, the city are doing better at working together on common goals and common issues. I think that having water not be a source of contention over the next few months and years will help us continue to do better at that. And Asheville